Hello, sweet friends, and welcome to The Way Through. I am your host, Bonnie Worth, and as always, incredibly grateful to have you sharing space and time and conversation with me. This show is dedicated to being able to take a look at our lives, to become active and co-creative in what we are experiencing, and we're taking a look at all of this through the lens of mediumship. We've got conversations that incorporate, of course, the metaphysic aspect and the co-creative properties of our existence. Today, we're going to take the show in a little bit of a different, well, it's not a different direction, but it definitely is a significant direction. It's if you've been tuning into my previous shows, I've talked a lot about the impact, of course, of the emotional content of our wounding, of what plays out in the world as we're moving through, giving conversations that to support your healing journey based on the things that I've come to know and understand, not only from my own personal journey, but in course of all of the years of supporting and helping other individuals to overcome the challenges, the narratives, the stories, the limitations and barriers that have been preventing or holding them back from really engaging in a life that they love to live. Part of this as well, we look at it through that mediumistic lens where we understand the sensitivity of individuals in the world who are not only sensitive to the non-physical world, but also sensitive to the energy and really who live life from energy first. And if you're tuning in to the show, then you're someone obviously who is very, very sensitive as I am. And, I'm hoping today in our conversation will help to lead you to understand more about your own self, um, your own autonomy over not only your physical existence, but autonomy over your energy existence or your energy body. So that's a really big part of our conversation today because being an energy sensitive is very profound, but it can often be challenging as well. It's a challenging aspect, of how we live our lives. And when you are someone who is sensitive to energy, when you are a spiritual empath, there a significant portion of what we experience in our day-to-day life. We could say anywhere from 80 to 90%, whether through the thoughts, our emotions, our reactions, the sensations, the feelings that we go through, even physical symptoms that we have inside of our body stem from not just our own internal state, but the energies, the vibration of the world around us. And so this is a reality for a lot of people everywhere. And so this isn't just a me thing. It's not just a you thing. There is a massive amount of people who are super sensitive to the energies, to the fluxes and changes within the scope of the thoughts, the feelings, the things that are playing up in the world, even around us. And so it makes our healing journey more complicated. It can also make day-to-day life very challenging as well. And so today the conversation is really, looking at understanding who we are as energy sensitives, but how do we become empowered in the state of existence, so to speak, of the global energy of the world around us. We so very significantly, like so many of you, we're just coming, our awareness is to the political landscape as to what is playing out and happening in the world around us. Now, whether or not you are someone who, is tuning in from globally from anywhere in the world, or specifically someone within the US, just to know and understand that the energy behind what is happening within the political forums, is effective on it, has an effect on us. We can look at this in terms of the war that is happening as well. The impact, the energies of the war can be affecting us, our well-being, our mental, emotional, physical, spiritual well-being, our energy well-being is all further complicated by the acts of war, the crimes against humanity, the things that are playing out and happening in, as I said, even in the political world stage. And so all of those things have an effect on us. And we can, these are energies that not only create a heightened awareness or physical energies that are, permeating around us, but they are affecting our mood. They're affecting our well-being, our level of motivation and vitality, the everything, that of the collective energies and the societal paradigms that are at the forefront of everything. This is really creating a lot of challenging energy around us. And if you're someone who is sensitive, this becomes internalized energy, and internalized energy that where we begin to believe maybe it's us, it's our own, it's our own issues. This is my pain, this is my suffering, this is my grief, this is my depression, this is my, whatever it is, that we have a tendency through almost a naivety of the impact of energy on us that leads us to having, almost like a misidentification that leads us to into a real overwhelming sense of existence, and overwhelming emotionally, overwhelming, in terms of our, like I said, our levels of energy, period. And so it really, really does affect us. When we look at, navigating life or being an energy sensitive, we very often find ourselves encumbered by the overwhelm. We have all of this energy that is circulating and oscillating around us, and we are engaged with it, whether we're conscious of it or unconscious of it. And so the state, these energies that are there, this state of existence, or what we're even dealing with in the scope is, as we're coming off the impact of political, decisions, as we're coming forward and through that, there's a flux of emotion there, irregardless of, what party you back, irregardless of what your belief systems are, irregardless of any of that. This is separating out all of the logical, the logical aspects of our humanness, and understanding the sensitivity that's there, and the impact that, of course, that it has on us. So it becomes this overwhelming sense of emotional burden, this heightened state of anxiety, of depression, of irritability, of being exhausted or in a deep fatigue state. And all of this is because it's all heightened because of the external influences. And again, we can often perceive this as if it's our own shortcoming, or it's an issue or something that's ours that we have to deal with. And this, of course, is conversation. And what I want to share here today is, yes, there is definitely this scope of self-responsibility. We need to take a look at what is ours, what are we feeling. We need to be with what we're feeling. We need to be present in terms of our own emotional needs, our own, spiritual needs, all of those things. It's important for us to dive in and to do the deeper work, but to also know that lots of what we experience, or lots of what we've internalized or suppressed or are holding, even in the scope of, we could say, are the issues that we're dealing with in terms of being able to heal and move forward in our life, get further complicated because of our energetic sensitivity, because of this overwhelmed state that we can find ourselves in, these, and especially these fluxes and intensities of energies of even what we've been dealing with this past, this past couple of months, or even especially this past week. Now, for me personally, I know that, days leading up to the election in the US, even though I am in Canada, days that leading up to it, I was starting to feel very, very tired, very run down. It was almost as if I was, fighting some form of virus. This is really understanding is the symptoms that were going on in my body were a result of the toxicity of energy, not the toxicity based on one party versus the other, or one person versus the other. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the collective influences that were a part of the energy of the election, or the energy of the people within the country. And it's not a good or bad or right or wrong thing. It's just an understanding there was energy that was influencing my state of well-being. And so it really got to the point where even, it was like leading up, it's like Sunday, I was, even though I was, facilitating my classes and showing up for my clients, and it's, I mean, my work is what fulfills me and brings energy to me. There's also, the feelings and things that I was going through. I was very emotional. I was crying a lot, very weepy. I felt like I wasn't able to really balance my, my own self, feeling really kind of depressed and run down on that Sunday. And by Monday, I was in bed. Monday, I could hardly function. It was the crawl into bed, put my, head on my pillow, covers over top of my head, and I just wanted to stay there until, everything was over and done with, so to speak. That the pressure of that energy was very intoxicating and very difficult to be able to function. And I know I've spoken with several people who are energy sensitive. Again, this isn't just a me thing. That there were several people who were going through the same kinds of symptoms. The effect of this that this energy was having was creating not just irritability and panic and uncertainty leading up to it. The all of those emotions, all of that energy behind the emotion was creating other symptoms where it was causing us to, again, be completely exhausted, overwhelmed emotionally, physically, mentally, not being able to function, just wanting, aches and pains in our bodies. And I know even Monday, as I said, the migraine, wanted to stay in bed. Physically, everything hurt in my body. Everything was sore, from my knees to my hips to my back to my shoulders. It's like everything, for lack of a better way of saying it, my physical body was under symptoms from carrying the weight of the world on my shoulders, or carrying the weight of that energy. Now, it's not like I'm just doing it alone. Like I said, it wasn't just a me thing. This is something that was, being experienced in many different ways, and of course in different forms. So if you're someone who's tuning in and you're reflecting back over this last week of how you've been feeling and what you've been struggling with, and maybe your own emotional landscape, if you're starting to reflect on it, you might begin to understand how your sensitivity really has, is a big factor in, as a result of how you've been feeling, based on of information that you were receiving or picking up on that wasn't even yours to begin with. It wasn't even you. Those thoughts maybe that you were having, those feelings that were coming up, what was going on in your physical body. This again, just helping you to understand this may not be you. Like, what if this wasn't you ever? What if everything you've ever been dealing with in terms of your mental, emotional, or even physical health, what if it's had nothing? What if it's never been you? That this is all just in response to the energies and that you've been under the influence of. It's really an important piece. And again, it's why I'm having this conversation today. And we'll also be bringing in, some what are some ways in which to bring in the medicine? How do we attend to ourselves as extreme energy sensitives, especially during times where there's such increase of toxicity in the air that we're breathing, and not just in terms of pesticides or things like that. I'm speaking of this energy that we're bringing into our bodies. We're bringing into ourselves, whether we're conscious or unconscious of it. So when we look at, as energy sensitives, we can be completely flooded by the energetic states of other people, the energetic states of communities. I look back even, we can look at different times where we've seen natural disasters, or there has been, school shootings, or there have been massive tragic accidents. We can look at all of those. Those all become times which can be very disorienting experiences for someone who's energetically sensitive. And so it manifests, into many different ways, but it results almost like an emotional avalanche, where, as I said, the sheer weight of the accumulation of all of these energies really does become a little bit unmanageable for us. And so, one, as I said, already we can look at this pervasive fatigue. It's just on Monday, it was like I was so tired. It was like I could hardly carry the weight of my own body, to go, up and down stairs, to get in and out of bed, to, just exist in my day was really, really challenging. And so there was this deep feeling of fatigue, but there was also feelings accompanied with what were despair, of what was helplessness, and that in and of itself can, created this almost a sense of restlessness, but a heightened state of anxiety as well. And so that's what happens to us when we are in a state of overwhelm, especially without a clear cause. It begins to affect us. We begin to get restless, agitated, increased states of anxiety as a result of this heightened response to the stimuli that is occurring. And so stimuli, again, from, those, we can look at it in terms of, our day-to-day life, where maybe someone who's energetically sensitive can get very overwhelmed going shopping, going into crowded, being in crowds, even strong scents or things like that can be, incredibly difficult because it almost exasperates those feelings of overwhelm. But again, the stress in the body, that's why I said, talked about, what I was going through on Monday, that stress in my body, the headache, the stomach issues, the fatigue, all of that was the mind and the body reacting to the energies that I had absorbed, the energies, even with all of the practices that I have in place. And even I have got all kinds of little ways that I can shift and recalibrate and cleanse through my field in order to really help and support me in functioning in a healthy way on an everyday basis. But even with the enormity of what was going on, the intensity, where we look at the collective properties of that energy, because as I said, it wasn't just a me thing, wasn't just a you thing. These were hundreds of thousands of people that were either right, wrong, good or bad, positive, negative, were evoking energies behind. Their emotions are energy and motion. And that content became it very, very difficult in terms of being able to discern what we're, discern, is this really my emotion? Is this something that, I'm dealing with or feeling because of? It really created a lot of, can be very confusing or create a lot of what can be, as I said, that emotional distress. So we look at, understanding that this can derail us. We can wonder why it is that, I was actually woke up this morning, I was feeling great, I had lots of energy, and then boom, it feels like I hit the wall. Like, what happened? What if it's not you? What if it is just you in response to the energy that you're participating in, the energy that you're involved in that particular day? Where, here again, understanding where we can have positive thoughts. We might be really super optimistic and we're working on our gratitude journals and we're feeling really, really good. And then it was like out of nowhere, we go into fear, we go into panic, we go into something must be, that fear of something bad must be happening. Is somebody upset with me? We can even do this in terms of, money. Maybe we've paid our bills and we have lots of, we have money in the bank account where we've got, we're doing fine in terms of financial matters, and yet we can still have fear. All of a sudden we panic because, oh my gosh, is my power going to get cut off? Did I pay the power bill? This fear of not enough or lack in some way. All of these things can be, whether it's thoughts or feelings, can be in response to the fact that we're picking up on the energy of our neighbors. Maybe, even in when we think about the aspect of panic over the bills that are coming in, and you've paid all your bills, like you have nothing to be panicked or concerned about, but suddenly you are, it can be an indication that you're actually picking up on your neighbor. It's your neighbor who is stressed. It's your neighbor who is uncertain if they have the financial means to pay their bills. This is recognizing in all ways that we, as energy sensitive, we operate from energy first. And so we are always in response to an energy that we're experiencing. And and this is really important to understand, because as we filter through all of that, being able to discern what's ours and what someone else's becomes an important part of being able to live and breathe and exist in a healthy way. So when we look at, this in relationship to whether it's been, we're having a subjective experience, where in a subjective, it means it's an indirect experience. So this is, again, I can only go back, and talk about the election this past week, because it was such an impact on so many people for many different ways. But again, looking at the energy of this, that when we are even witnessing something, that emotional landscape, that indirect trauma, the indirect witnessing of violence, of hostilities, the experiencing even the stresses of the aftermath, the maybe grief associated with it, the panics, the fears, the upset that it can create, in addition to the celebration and the rejoicing and the, in it, it really creates a very mixed or convoluted energy field that we are subjected to. And so when we are just witnessing something, and again, even, we can look at this in the aftermath of what, of the political forum in the US right now and the impact that it's had on us, or we can look at the complex interplay on our own personal traumas and the energy of other people. So, the energy associated with the experience or the event that happened, the energy of all the people who were a part of that event, all of those things created, as I said, this complex interplay between our ability to function to in doing our own healing in order to move forward. Everything creates. I'm going to say that again, which means that we are constantly creating through our reactions, through our thoughts, through our emotional content. We're creating in the universe. However, also to understand that the energy that is around us is creating as well, not only creating what will be manifestation of, different events and things that will come as follow through, but also creating impact on us as well. That is a stimuli, and that is a frequency and energy that we can begin to experience as ours in our own life, and yet we have nothing to do with it. Like, I don't live in the US. Are we affected by the politics there? Of course we are, because what happens to one nation affects all of our nations. What happens to people around the world affects, the people of the world. And I mean, when you have a heart and when you have compassion and when you care, you're going to care about what's happening in the world around and to other people around us. And so that can be part of what is an internalized experience, even though we are indirect or we're having it's a subjective matter. This is even when I look at my own childhood, the traumas and things that I experienced. There a lot of what was the challenge or complexity within my own healing journey was from what I witnessed happening to other people. So it was an indirect experience. So not only the impact of witnessing it, seeing it, the what the psychological impact that would have, but there was also the further complexity because of the energy that was a part of it as well, the energy of the people, the energy of the event. And so that, because of the naivety of being so young and not understanding anything in terms of this world of energy, that it really created in an increased complexity to my ability to heal and to move forward. And so I share this because it's important to recognize that, especially if you've been someone who, you're doing the deeper work, you're on this journey of self-discovery and self-responsibility, and you're looking to consciously create a better life for yourself, but you're coming up against increased challenges, or you're feeling like your efforts are futile in terms of progress or moving forward, even though, as you know, we talk on the show always about the paradigms, the belief systems, the emotional landscape, the things that we've suppressed, that we have maybe been neglected, what we've inherited, from this lifetime, from through our conditioning, or even what we've brought in from previous lifetimes, and the karmic impact of things. All of those things are a part of it. They're all significant in really understanding our ability to heal and to move forward in a healthier way or healthier existence. But now we add on this side of it, this effect of the energy aspects of everything that really create further complication and challenge for us. It's like, here again, if you're feeling you're not making progress on your journey, if you're feeling like there's no headway or you're right back to where you were, even though you're doing all this other work, I want to just pose the question, what if it's not you? What if this isn't your stuff that you're processing? What if what you're going through isn't even yours to begin with? It's just something you're carrying, something you've absorbed, something you've unconsciously taken on that is now operating in your system as if it is yours, but it was never yours in the first place. So, this is where, again, looking at, okay, understanding that we as energy sensitives, we have a heightened sensitivity to everything that is around us. We are attuned to the energies that resonate with all of those past traumas, the energy that is resonating with world events that are taking place, the energy that's resonating from our neighbors or from society. All of these things, whether we're aware of it or not, can create further distress or even what can be detrimental to our own physical, emotional, spiritual, emotional well-being. It's all there. The other piece of it is when we encounter energies or situations even that are similar in energy context. Now, when I say energy context, means that the storyline or the narrative or what is happening can be completely different. It's like it's like apples and oranges. There's no comparison whatsoever. This can be from what might be a personal loss, maybe of a job versus the loss of life. Like the experiences in that are different. The emotional content, is the same. The experience is different. But again, when we look at and I say the emotional content is the same. That's not quite it. There is emotional content that's there, but it's the energy of those. The energy that's stored is active in our emotional body. It's active there. And so there is, when we encounter energies and situations with context where the energy is this, is basically a representation of what is the same thing, that can reactivate our own. It's almost like a re-traumatization that can take place, that there are symptoms that can be akin to PTSD, but symptoms that, again, we're processing and moving through, from that are hindering our ability to feel safe, to feel grounded, to function in a healthy way. So that, this is when we have to recognize that everything is energy and we are participating and encountering different energies all the time, and that we are either in a conscious state or an unconscious state to it. And I'm hoping that if you've been in an unconscious state, that this show is really going to help to open your mind and open your understanding about your own energy sensitivity, because it's really, in understanding the scope of it, because now you can not only adhere to what are your needs in terms of, what do you require to feel better, what do you need in order to support you on your healing journey, but you can also, what are your energetic needs, what energy things can you do for yourself to support your overall well-being as well as your healing journey and overall well-being, especially at times where we see, things happening on the world stage around us that feel like they're beyond our control. How do we function and how do we find our way through that? Of course, that's why you're tuning into today's show, and I'm hoping something I have to say here is really going to spark and help and support you on that. When we look, I want to, talk about, remember I talked about that fatigue, the restlessness that comes up, this disconnection from our own needs and feelings when we get so depleted. We go into, it's interesting what happens. I've seen it happen time and time again, that when things are happening and we get, and I see it happening. It even happened for me on Monday when I said I was so in this state of just like not of just complete overwhelm, even with all my practices I have in place. It was what was causing me. I just wanted to, withdraw. I just wanted to, like I said, crawl under the covers until everything was over. But it really was this continuous exposure to these energies creates immediately we go into inadequate self-care. We immediately, we lose our ability to function and care for ourselves when things like this are happening. So it causes us to withdraw. It can lead to feeling even more disconnected from our source, disconnected from people, and of course, because it's taking its emotional and energetic toll on us. Now, this is where why we want to understand it. This is where, again, we can say this is almost in the subjective or the indirect witnessing of things. We can get into compassion fatigue, where we are so exhausted that our desire for healing, our desire for good, our desire for miracles, our desire for, things to be different than what they are, because we are seeing the effects of how it's affecting other people, how it's affecting communities and nations, and what's happening when we have great compassion, and our inability to help, our inability to express or extend support in that way, even though we're doing it energetically, we can get very fatigued and run down as a result. So we immediately withdraw. We immediately go into feeling depleted, exhausted, the upheaval, and again, where the number one thing is we go into neglecting ourselves, abandoning ourself, abandoning our need for rest, abandoning our need for nutrition, abandoning our need for physical exercise, our need for people. We begin to abandon all of the practices, maybe even our meditation practice. As a result, through our human conditioning, we immediately let go of everything that actually supports our wellness when we get into these fatigue states as a result of these energy influences. And as I said, this is really challenging because there's difficulty in our own regulation, not just our emotional regulation, but being able to energetically regulate as well. And so that overlaps, and it makes it difficult for us to feel like we're maintaining balance. We can, that irritability begins. I've spoken to many people over the last few days who are, very angry. They're very irritable. They're very panicked. They're very stressed, because of the fear that's been generated for them as a result of the decisions that were made within the government. So with this is again, these mood swings that can happen, this helplessness that takes over, and of course even feeling guilty, or feeling guilty about maybe having it better than other people, or feeling guilty because we're not affected by it, or feeling guilty that, this is really an odd one too, feeling guilty that we're happy when other people are suffering. All of those things, that's an undercurrent for us in our human condition. And so not being able to fix this, not being able to help. Remember, I talked about the compassion fatigue. We have so much compassion, but yet we feel helpless, and that inability to help or support or to fix it for someone, right? This is really where we feel guilt around that too, or we feel like we're not good enough, and it's, we're helpless or hopeless in it. And so again, this is where, when we look at being an energy sensitive, there's so many variables that can influence and affect us in terms of our ability to function on a day-to-day basis, as well as being able to honor our unique needs and navigate these energies that are impacting our well-being. So again, the cumulative effect of the energies can really derail even our best intentions. It can derail even our most practiced our biggest practices, our spiritual practices. This is again, as I said, even with all of the practices I have in place, all of the processes that I have, that I know, I can help myself feel better very, very quickly. I can help myself get out of low fatigue or challenging emotional states by regulating and understanding, or we could say manipulating my own energy, not manipulating other people, but being able to move my energy and to disengage and to move it into a place where I can be in a healthier environment, and not a healthier, and again, this is a healthier energy environment. So it doesn't matter where I am in the world, or where I'm living, or what I'm doing, or who I'm with. I can live and experience a healthy energy environment, irregardless of those conditions around me. But what happened here is when the cumulative effect of these energies, the cumulative effect of fear, of anxiety, of panic, even of joy, because that was a part of it as well. It can derail our practices. It can derail our well-being. It can derail what feels like our connection to source, to our higher power, or even to our authentic self. So it basically disconnects us from the higher self, and the ego begins to basically run the show, or and it makes it even more challenging, of course, for us. So what are the strategies? What are the strategies? And again, there's so much about this that I could talk about different variables and the effects of it, the impact of different scenarios and circumstances in the world around us. But irregardless, as I said, of what the story is, irregardless of what's happened, we as energy sensitives have to really look at what we can do to promote our health, our resilience through the most challenging of times. And, how do we do that? We do that by coming back to center, coming back to what is it that we truly need in today. We can't control what's happening in the outer world. We can look at this on a global scale, and the things that are happening globally, the negative the negative things. And again, I try not to judge based on positive, negative, but because I know there's good in everything that's being experienced, even if we don't see the good or know the good at the time. It's like, when hindsight is always 2020. We can always look back and see the good out of some of the most difficult or challenging situations once we've come through it, right? So this is about the trusting that good will be revealed, or there will be good, but we may not see that manifest in front of us. It doesn't decrease the suffering. It doesn't decrease the fear of, or decrease the things that are happening that maybe cause us distress or impact what we witness happening. It's like we can't alter what's happening out there. We can only alter what's going on inside of us. We can only alter how we are showing up in the world, and what we are choosing to do for ourselves in order to be well in our lives. And it's not saying that when I talk about wellness, it's not saying that we're not well, that we're sick and in distress. It's about how do we continue in a state of well-being for ourselves, and in knowing that as we choose to do so, that it's not a selfish act. We're actually coming into a place where are taking care of ourselves, honoring ourselves, looking to inside of ourselves in terms of what needs to heal, shift. What am I putting out into the world? What am I consciously creating? Am I contributing to the despair, the suffering? Am I contributing to the dark, or the deficit, or the scarcity? Or am I contributing to the abundance and the light and the joy and the love? Where is my contribution? Because my energy, as much as the energy of the world is impacting me, I'm also participating in some way. So I always look at, what energy am I being? What is my energetic contribution? Because I can sit back and I can judge, and I can complain, and I can be overwhelmed by everything of what it's doing to me, and I can be a victim of that. I'm going to be talking about being a victim later on this month on another one of the shows, so make sure you're tuning into that, how we move beyond that state of being a victim. So I can be a victim to everything that's happening energetically, Or I can consciously begin to bring practices and make decisions and choices that are going to best support me for my energetic needs, support a healthy energetic environment, and the energy that I'm emanating, the energy that I'm expressing into the world can be that that's contributing to the positive or contributing to, the what I want to see, the change that I want to see in the world, the peace that I can curate inside of myself, even though it feels like it's just a solo peaceful event that I'm experiencing, the energy of that peace is positively contributing. So the more I choose to be at peace, the more I choose to fall forward into my practices, the more I choose to heal and shift and move beyond that, the energy behind all of that is positively contributing to the world. And my ability to hold compassion and my ability to express, this into the world is what is going to promote the change as well, the change that I crave, the change that the change that I want to see in the world is the change that has to begin inside of me. And so even in times like this, we have more responsibility more than ever to each other. We have more responsibility to build what is a sense of wellness in ourselves, because our wellness does contribute to the wellness of others. Our joy contributes to the wellness, to the joy of others. Our peace contributes to the peace of others, even if we're not seeing that reflect in reality. This is about the energy exchange that's going on. So what is your exchange? What is your currency? What is it that you're putting out into the world? This becomes more important than ever, that we need to show up for each other. We need to be here for each other, not just from a fear-based perspective on this, but from a centered of what is divine grace. How can we be that for each other becomes the bigger question. And so, how to this is like, yes, we can be a victim of the energy that's out there, and it can derail us, and it can be difficult and challenging, and it's important for us to not internalize everything we experience, because not everything we experience, like I said, 80 to 90% of what we're experiencing energetically has nothing to do with us. We're just taking it on, we're just claiming it, we're processing it, we're holding it, we've absorbed it, we've chose it, which means we have to be very conscientious of how we're speaking about things. And you've probably heard me say it before on the show. When we make declarations, when the moment we make a declaration, we are grabbing hold of something energetically, which means what I mean by this is the moment I say I am afraid, I'm grabbing hold of fear, and now fear is a part of what I need to process. When I say I am tired, I'm scared, I'm angry, I am all of these things. We begin to process it. It begins to become a part of our experience. So we have to be very cognizant as energy sensitives what it is that we are claiming for ourselves, what it is that we're buying in that moment. Because to understand that just because we're in the experience of it, it's an energy that we're experiencing, but it may not even be ours in the first place. And so when we want to look at how can we bypass these energies, how can we not participate or engage in these energies, and it all, means we need to come back to center. We need to come back to look at what is our contribution? What are we expressing? What is our currency that's out there? And the more of us that take responsibility for that expression of energy, that's where we begin to see things begin to change in the world. It's how we begin to help and support each other, especially in times where we feel helpless, where we feel like we can't make an impact. We can make an impact, and our prayerfulness has an impact. Our intention has an impact. Our energy, the energy that we are being, is impacting. It's impacting the state of affairs everywhere in our life and for each other. So, doing what is a regular energy check in becomes important. And this is really, this is a self assessment. This is where we're tracking what our emotional state is and how we can differentiate our personal feelings from those external influences. So, we need to look at, what's going on for me in this moment. Okay, hang on a second. How do I feel? How do I feel? Am I experiencing some tension, some agitation? Is this mine? That becomes important. Even the thoughts, when we have those transferring thoughts, those random thoughts that seem to come out of nowhere. I talked about that earlier. It's like we're having a great day, we're feeling really positive and optimistic, and all of a sudden, boom, we all of a sudden get into panic and fear. We all of a sudden start, scouring in almost like hypervigilance of did I forget something? I'm feeling sick, something's going on. Why am I panicking? All of those things that happen. We need to look at questioning everything, because in questioning everything, the moment we question is the moment that we stop the energy impact and the energy impact on us, so that we can, in that essence, begin to create a conscious movement of energy, so that we can become aware and understand that this overwhelm we're feeling, this charge of energy that we're processing right now, is actually not ours. So we do that through a check-in. We need to be aware of ourselves. We need to, how are we feeling today? What do I need in this moment? Is what I'm feeling actually mine? And that becomes important as these questions filter in. So again, simple things. It doesn't have to be, any major magical words or practices that can stop that impact of energy. It's just awareness to the fact, one, that what you're experiencing may not be yours, which means that when you're feeling something, whether you know if it's someone else's or not, whether you know it's you or not, simply go into questioning it and just say, who am I feeling? Who am I feeling in this moment? And the moment you question it, you're not going to know. It's not like the universe drops in and says, "Oh, you're feeling Mary. She lives 3 doors down to, to the south of you, whatever," right? You're not going to know specifically who it is. What in questioning it, the question itself is an acknowledgement that says to the universe and basically to these energies that are there, that you are aware of whatever you are experiencing in that moment may not be yours. And that question halts and stops things. And it's important to question. It's important to ask empowering questions of the universe, but it's also important as an energy sensitive to begin to question the energy experiences, to question your emotional experiences, question your physical experience, because what if it's not yours? Who am I feeling can be a question of an emotional state. Who am I feeling can be a question of a physical state that you're in. Who am I feeling is a realization that you are in an energetic experience that may or may not be yours. And by simply posing the question to it, simply posing the question is enough to stop the influence. And when you stop the influence, it allows it to dissipate. It allows it to let go. You're not claiming that energy. You're not claiming it as yours, which means if you're not declaring it as yours, you're not having to process and deal with it. Right. So it becomes important. It's like, this is why we need to check in. We need to check in. We need to question. Okay. The other part, again, I've said this too, it's about recognizing everything is energy. It's like recognizing every state, whether positive or negative, whether it is of joy or of sorrow, recognizing it as energy first. I recognize the energy of despair. I'm recognizing the energy of fear. This was a big part. I did a lot of recognizing of energy on Monday. I did a lot of self-awareness in terms of those energy check-ins, who am I feeling? And then question, of course, questioning it, but then also looking at, okay, I'm recognizing this energy. I'm recognizing despair. I'm recognizing scarcity. I'm recognizing fear. And just being able to recognize it as energy is enough to stop it or begin to dissolve those influences that it's having over me. So I hope that this is going to help you to, alter and shift the influences that it's having over you as well. Now, energetic hygiene. This is the third thing I wanted to share today. I've got lots, of course, that I could share even more, but this last thing, energetic hygiene. And what I mean by this is about doing space and energy cleansing. So, and it's an energetic cleanse, whether that be smudging your space, you're doing singing bowls, doing sound baths, so to speak, or even a bath with Epsom salts where you're getting into the energy, into the water where there is intention that to release the external energies that you may have unconsciously absorbed or that are in your space that are influencing your state of well-being. So doing things like being able to, do a smudge. You can do it with with sage, you can do it with incense, you can do it with music, you can do it with song, with dance. It doesn't have to be complicated. You can go into any room in your house and simply, clap your hands and just say out with the bad and in with the good. Like it doesn't have to be super, super complex. All that you're doing is recognizing that there's energy at play that may be influencing your state of wellness, that may not even be yours to begin with. It's something you've taken on, you've inherited it in some form or some way. Now, this can be inherited from previous traumas and experiences. Remember, I said there's energy attached to those things. This can be influences of things that are karmically a part of what you're in the experience of. They can be a direct or indirect experience. So this energetic hygiene becomes an important part of the process. When we look at one, and everything is energy. We are energy. We have an energy field around us, which means that we're holding and absorbing, or energy is moving through our field and around us constantly. So, in this, we begin to stop some of the influences of energy. We begin to clear through our energy field, which means we can do this with Epsom salt bath. You can dive in, and again, the intention, and dive into the water and just ask for that to be cleansed and released from you, all those unhealthy, negative energies that you've absorbed or taken on. I'm asking it to be cleansed and released from me now. It's just a prayer of intention. You're just asking. And it's like the spiritual law says, asking you shall receive, which means you're asking for this to be done and it's done. This is the ultimate of understanding your empowered state. This is also looking at, you might even just be in a shower. You can stand underneath a shower and simply ask that the water that's running from the shower head cleanse through your energy field and dispelling all of the energies that you've taken on and absorbed. It can be very, very simple. You can even put, essential oil on your hands, and you can just run through your energy field with the intention to cleanse and release all the energies that you've absorbed. We don't need to carry it, even if you don't know where it's come from or what's involved, but you're just feeling off. Do some energy hygiene. Do the hygiene on your own physical self first, your energy body. Allow yourself to, find to uncover yourself in the state of everything else that you've taken on. Clear and release it from your system. The other thing is our environments, our homes. This is when you're an energy sensitive, you are sensitive to the world around you. Which means you're sensitive to the energies within your home as well. So you can shift and change the energy experience immediately by being able to cleanse and clear that your environment, from your offices to your bedroom to, just ask for all of the energy that is unserving to you, that is non beneficial, for it to be cleared and released from that space. And in its place, this becomes important. In its place, that this be downloaded, this home be downloaded with unconditional love, that it be downloaded with joy, that it be downloaded. We're asking for an energy to come in its place. We're changing the state of our experience in our own home, in our own environments. We can't control what's taking place in the world out there, but we definitely can control the experiences that we're creating for ourselves. And so when we look at being an energetic sensitive, although it presents, a lot of challenges, and we're influenced by so many of the energies, that when we look at fostering what is this way of being able to, fostering practices, cultivating our existence in a way. We can create harmony within things, and that energy is what transforms the world. It's the energy that we're being that transforms our day. It's the energy that we're living in that transforms how we feel. So when we are in states where things around us are so intense and so complex and so overwhelming, we can look at what we can do to control where we are right now so that we can feel better right now, irregardless of what's happening in the world, that we can be more vibrant or grounded in our existence amidst the energies, amidst the complexity, amidst what, the state of affairs, irregardless of, where that is or with whom that is. So all right. As I said, like always, there's so much to share in these conversations, and I'm so grateful for you and tuning in. I want to send my love to each and every one of you. I know there is such challenge right now. There is such fear and such uncertainty about what comes in the world for all of us. And not only do I feel you deeply. I'm also, my prayers are lifted, and my prayer for you to be relieved, so that you can have hope, that you can find your sense of balance and wellness in your own life, and that you're going to be able to find, small practices and ways to help you to move through what are some of the complexities or feelings of helplessness that you might be going through right now. Through all things, let there be light, and through all things, let love prevail. And that is my greatest prayer and my hope for all of us as humanity. So thank you for tuning into today's show. So grateful to have you here. Lots of course conversation. If there's something I shared in this episode that was helpful and beneficial for you, please comment, please let me know. And of course, if there's something that you feel someone else would benefit from, please be sure to share this episode with them. Thank you so much for tuning in. God bless everyone. And remember, we will get through this. We will get through all of this. There is a way through, and it is together. And together we've got this.